Hey guys, Talk Show TV here, and welcome to a spectacular, not really spectacular, but creepy story time. This did not happen to me, so don't get worried. This is on Reddit called Let Me In by Shun1. Go check it out in the link in the description. So let's get started. I'm not going to read it, Siri is. So let me... There we go. Let's get started to talk.
So I was about 8 years old. I'm a female and my neighbor was at my house. She was 9 years old. We were playing in my living room and the front door was open. We had an old screen door, the kind that anyone can rip open easily. The screen was locked, thankfully. The doorbell rings and my babysitter, who was a very small elderly lady, goes to see who it was. I follow, thinking maybe it was another friend in the neighborhood. A man starts talking about this vacuum cleaner that has selling. He was dressed in a suit and says he wants to come in and demonstrate the vacuum. My babysitter says she isn't interested. The man grabs the screen door handle and tries to open the door. My sitter tells him to leave and he starts saying, "Open the door now. Let me in," he says while shaking the door handle. She closes the front door and we can still hear him talking outside. She tells us to stay inside for a while. We look through the window to see if he is going to the other houses, but we didn't see him anywhere. He may have just been a pushy salesman, but you don't try to open the door to someone's house. I am just glad the screen was locked.
Okay, that was the first one. I'm going to look for another one, and yes. So, I don't know. Wait, sorry. Here's a good one. I'm gonna get Siri to tell it in a sec. Sorry, this is taking forever. I'm just really sorry. Okay, here's the next one called Creepy Man in the Shadows by Kelly Bad, I mean. Okay, here it is.
So about 3 months ago, my dad and I were in Puerto Plata. We were staying at the Iberostar, and when we got there, we realized we were right near the end of the strip of resorts. We were told not to walk the beach too far because at a certain point, it was the locals' area and you were no longer on resort property, therefore they couldn't offer as much protection. Everyone we met was very nice, met lots of locals and had no problems. Our room was at the end of the resort by the beach, a great room. On the first night we went for a walk on the beach around 11 p.m. and saw lots of crabs. Me, loving animals, wanted to get some pictures of them, but it started raining, so we went back to the room to bed. The next night, we walked the beach around 11:30. I wouldn't do this if I was not with my dad, so we walked for about half hour, and I got some pictures, and we're walking back to our room. Right before our room there was a large area covered with palm trees in the sand. I was looking down at the camera reviewing my pictures, when my dad said, "Did you see that?" I said, "No." "What?" He said, "There was a guy hiding right there, look behind you." I looked behind me and saw a tall skinny man hiding beside the palm tree, keeping his body hidden beside it in the shadows. His hood covered his head so I couldn't tell if he was white, or brown, Or what? He had something shiny in his hand that was reflecting some light from somewhere. We went back to the room and watched as he stood there for almost half hour. Then we called hotel security. All they really said was you're not supposed to walk on the beach at night, and they said they would send someone to look. We didn't look out at him anymore because we didn't want him to see us since our balcony was on ground floor and he could have come right up to the room. Still wondering what would have happened if I was alone. So creepy. Let's not meet. Creepy man in the shadows.
Okay, that was a good one. I really enjoyed that one as well, so yeah, let's go to the next page of it and let's look. Creepy cops. Sorry. This one looks good. Okay, let's get Siri to read it. And yeah, so this one's called Apartment Experience. I'm guessing it's an experience and stuff. It's a big story. Okay, let's start. Oh, this is called Apartment Experience, called Let's Not Meet. By K. Dennis 19. Okay, listen to this.
A couple years ago I was living in a small 2-bedroom apartment with just my small chihuahua and myself. For perspective, I was a 22-year-old female. Also, the apartment I lived at was more like a large house that was separated into 3 sections, 3 different apartments. I only had one other neighbor living at these units and he lived to my left. All the other units were vacant. I had never felt unsafe living there until this incident. I left for work during the week at around 7:30 a.m. and wouldn't return home until after 5 p.m. I had a definite daily routine. While I was at work, I would leave my dog in the living room area so she could lounge on the couch. In this area there were large sliding glass doors that led to the backyard. When I would take Honey, my dog, out to go potty, there was a large red fence that wrapped around my yard and separated it from my neighbor's yards on my left, right, and behind. Besides my one fellow renter, there were a few houses that were occupied behind me. All of the people who lived around me seemed normal and never made a lot of noise or caused any issues. So, one day I went to work as usual. After work I decided to go visit my friend for a little while. When I was there I had this feeling that I should wait before going home. So, I stayed a little longer than I had originally planned. When I got home it was around 9 p.m. I opened my door and called to Honey as I normally do. She would always run up to me and jump around in excitement. This time, however, I noticed she was in her cage that I kept open and it contained her food and water bowls. I kept calling her name but she never responded. I started feeling a sense of dread. I walked up to her cage and I immediately realized she was dead. At first I thought she had died of some sort of natural cause. I then looked up and realized the door to the second bedroom was wide open. I always keep it closed and I knew I hadn't opened it before work. It was at that moment I knew someone had been in my house. My blood ran cold and I ran outside and stood there in shock for a minute. Wanting to hear a familiar voice, I called my dad, who was luckily in town right then, and advised me to call the cops. The cop arrived at the apartment and immediately began saying that the dog probably died of a natural cause. However, I showed her where the back gate was wide open and several other clues someone else had been there. She still didn't believe me and wouldn't do anything else until we did an autopsy on Honey to show she had been killed. Fast forward a week later and we get the autopsy results back. She had died of blunt force trauma to the head, and whoever did it to her had placed her in the cage and covered her up to make her look like she had been sleeping. Our best guess is that the person killed her because she wouldn't stop barking. When a detective was sent to the apartment, he asked around to all of my neighbors and no one had seen or heard anything. Also, the guy who lives beside me didn't have anyone break into his apartment, so I feel like whoever did this was looking for me. It has been 2 years since this incident and the culprit was never caught. So, apartment creeper and dog killer, let's not meet.
Okay, that was very creepy. Just listening to that. Very creepy. Sorry if this creeped you out, but that's gonna be the end of this Talk Show TV episode. So like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. If they're too creepy, don't watch the other happy ones. But this, I'm going to do weekly creepy ones, maybe even daily. Who knows? So that's the end of this video, and I'll see you on the next time. Bye.